They stood at the edge of their world, eyes turned upward, voices quiet as wind in winter. The Valari, ancient, dignified, worn from uncounted millennia of sorrow. They had seen empires rise and fall like tides. They had watched stars ignite, then wink out like tired embers. They had buried their last child generation 4,000 years ago. No birth cries had echoed in their silver cities since. They were beautiful. They were brilliant. But they were fading. And so, as the final planetary alignment neared, an event they called the Last Dawn, they gathered on their high spires and whispered their final prayers into the dusk. Let it end, they chanted. Let it be quiet. Let us rest. They had stopped searching long ago. For cures. For meaning. For salvation. What gods had they not already outlived? Then came the humans. Late to the stars. Fragile, impulsive, still reeking of combustion and emotion. Their ships were crude. Their clothes were strange. They laughed too loud. They asked too many questions. They cried openly when the Valari described their planned extinction ceremony. You want to end yourselves? The human ambassador, Mara Jun, asked, voice tight. We wish to return to stillness, said Elder Theruin. The long silence we earned. Mara was silent a long time. Then she looked around at the towering gardens, the statues carved from moonshells, the music drifting faintly through the crystalline air. It's beautiful here, she said. It was, the elder corrected gently. Then let us help you begin again. The Valari blinked, slow, ceremonial. Begin again? You've given up. But we haven't. Hope is for the young. No, Mara said. Hope is for the living. They did not stop the ceremony, but they allowed the humans to stay, more out of politeness than belief. Humans did not leave. They brought seeds. Not metaphors, actual seeds. Tough, messy earth flora that refused to die. Sunflowers. Tomatoes. Dandelions. They grew wildly in the sacred courtyards, breaking through perfect symmetry with unruly joy. Children ran barefoot across the crystal plazas. Not Valari children, those still did not exist. But human children. Sticky-fingered, loud, curious. They poked the statues, asked uncomfortable questions, laughed in libraries, and the Valaria watched. Uncomfortable, then intrigued, then moved. One child, Ravi, wandered into the Hall of Endings, the great temple where Valari placed their memories to rest. He stood before a monument carved with 10,000 names. What are these? He asked Elder Theruin, who had been meditating in silence. Our dead. Ravi frowned. Don't they get stories? They are stories. But no one's telling them. That night, he gathered the children around a fire and made up wild tales about the names. Elder warriors who danced with stars. Engineers who built oceans in bottles. Princesses who tamed lightning. The stories were wrong. But they were alive. And the Valari listened from the shadows. And wept. Mara invited them to Earth. They declined. She brought Earth to them. Not in weaponry or conquest, but in traditions. They celebrated solstice on the edge of their sunless winter. They painted eggs in abandoned shrines. They taught music that didn't require perfection, only passion. They taught mess. And something stirred. One Valari, young only by their standards, named Ellerin, approached Mara quietly. What if? I wish to begin. Mara smiled. Then we begin. It was not instant. Or easy. The elders resisted. The rituals were too deeply carved. But the cracks were spreading. Not in ruin. In rebirth. One day Ellerin danced. Not in formation. Not in the sacred halls. In the dirt. Barefoot. Under rain they used to shield against. The humans joined him. And then slowly, so did others. By the next alignment, there were no prayers for ending. There were questions. What now? Who will tell our stories? What shall we plant next season? The last dawn came. But it wasn't quiet. It was loud. With laughter. With song. With birth cries. One of the last Valari temples, dedicated to silence, was converted into a daycare. The children painted on ancient walls. No one stopped them. Elder Theruin, who once begged the stars for stillness, now stood every morning beside Marajan, watching the sun rise over dandelions and noise. I feared an end, he said once. You reached it, Mara replied. And you humans refused it. We just saw what you forgot. What's that? That the universe isn't built on conclusions. It's built on chapters. You were never meant to be the last page. The Valari evolved again, not through machinery or transcendence, but through beginning. They adopted Earth customs. They wrote new songs. They fell in love. They adopted children. One, named Vika, grew up to be the first Valari ambassador to Earth. She wore yellow. She smiled too much. She told the story of her people to every corner of the stars, not as a tragedy, but as a prologue. When the Galactic Council asked what changed them, she laughed. Humans came, she said, and they brought beginnings.